G'day friends, welcome to today's video. My name is James. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you're new. Today I'm starting a little bit of a video that's going to be very chopped, changed, spliced, cut between. It's not really studio vlog, but it's probably going to be more that format, as then like these clips will come from over time and who knows what they're going to be. So hopefully this isn't too long and too confusing to watch. My whole purpose for the video is to show how I put together Collage Club, the printables subscription that I do on Teachable every month. I wanted to show you a bit of that process, how I gather some of the artwork that I want to put in there, how I make new artwork for there, what my kind of thoughts are behind that process. I know I usually show each month the set of printables, but I thought it would be fun to actually show you how all of that comes together, because it's a really, I wouldn't even say intuitive, but it's kind of like a weird staggered process. I actually do it bit by bit. I don't sit down on one day and do it all. Some days I'm looking through journals and I just see things that I want to include for next month. So this month that I'm working on in this video is September 2021. And then other times I have things specifically that I want to create for it. Like this month I really want green stars in some version. I haven't really decided what yet, but I want green stars because I use green stars to track when I go to Zumba, so I thought that would be a good printable for me to have. Yes, everything I create is generally dreamed up for my own experience in art journaling, and I'm just lucky enough to have people that want to go along with that. So if you don't know anything else about Collage Club, I'll let you go check the description below. It is, in the simplest term, a monthly subscription to share art from my journaling world in a very tangible way to anyone who would like to download those and print those. I also use my Silhouette Portrait 3 to make all of my collage sheets a printable sticker sheet. So in essence, I don't really use them in the traditional collage sense where I print them out on regular copy paper, cut them up, glue them in. I've just made them all kiss cut stickers. So for me, it's actually a lot easier to use them, and I find myself using them a lot more. I know I say that all the time when I talk about it, but honestly can't tell you how beneficial it's been because it's so much easier to use that way. So you'll probably see me making some of those files as well. This whole video will be either looking for art to put into Collage Club for next month, creating new stuff to put in there like the stars. I have some other things I might like to finish to put in there, scanning, which is all going to happen here at this printer, editing and formatting. That's a big kind of laborious process that happens at the computer over there, and then getting everything uploaded and ready to go on Teachable. So I'm going to show you the entire process. I don't know when this video is going to go out, but it probably won't go out until it's all finished, so maybe closer to September. I'm starting this in like mid-August, I guess. I don't really need that long to put it all together. I guess I should just start there. I also don't just do it all in one day. It's kind of like a weird staggered process, but it shouldn't take more than a week, 2 weeks. And that's if I'm just working really slowly. Usually there's so much, I mean, I've got so many journals here I can pull from anything, and I usually just want to share the stuff that I've been doing in this month as well. And I've been on live streams a few times, so I think I want to share that stuff. Anyway, I'm talking for ages. Let's get right into the video. I'm going to show you this really tragic desk first. So here is my filthy desk. This is how I left it from the last time I was working here. I've just thrown everything everywhere. That's actually my Collage Club folder, so I do need that, and some of the other stuff on here, but I need to clean this up first before I get started, otherwise it just won't be a good experience. Alright, everything's clean, now I can think straight. I have a few of these Strathmore journals here that I've been working in throughout the month, and I do know there are actually things in here that I want to scan for September's Collage Club. This in particular I have to scan. I want to, actually I don't know if there's anything in here, possibly. I don't know if I want to scan any of these or save them for Virtual Voyage, but I might scan them because Virtual Voyage I create all bunches of new stuff anyway. So I might actually scan some of these. I might scan these in black and white, maybe color them in and see if I want them in color. It's going to be hard. Scanning the tan is a little bit harder, so I don't know, I'll think on that. What do I want from here? Do I want any of these? That's cute. I could just put that in there somewhere. I don't think I want any of these in there. I really like her. I think I might put her in there. Is it too early for Halloween stuff? September? Oh, she's definitely going in. Yeah, I have a bunch to scan, and these as well. I'll scan them, but I don't know if I'll color those in or not. That's about it from these journals. So I'm actually going to start with scanning. I know it's boring, but I'm going to scan these and then head over to the computer, and I'll actually start one of the pages to put it together, and we can see what that looks like. And this is literally the same process that repeats 1,000 times until I start actually drawing specific things. I do have a very specific idea for the numbers that I want to do next month, and I want to do, instead of doing 1 to 31, I actually want to do like, you know, 5 1s, 5 2s, 5 3s. So it's a whole set of just a page of the numbers, like a number sticker sheet rather than a date sticker sheet. But I want to do those 3-dimensionally and actually take photos, like squirting out paint and kind of building the numbers and then taking a photo of them and having this, have it look 3D, but it's actually just flat. So that's something I want to do as well. Actually, I have to write some of this down. I've been keeping a post-it note of things that I need to add to this month's collage club. Typically, I have it in my planner, but I haven't done this for a few months. On my monthly, I'll put down like different ideas that I have for collage club. So we're at September. I'm going to put this here, and I'll transfer that in a second. So let's get to scanning. All right, before I start, I have to give it a bit of a clean, just to make sure that I'm not scanning in any cat hair and like little markings that I don't want to have to clean up later. Because surprisingly, the cat hair does get into this scanner bed. I don't know how. Cat hair in all corners of my life. And then we just get to scanning, a very repetitive process. My top tip is to hold the scanner bed, like the lid down a little firm, just so you can press the page into the plate so it gets all the detail. I only scan at 300 dpi. I don't think you really need much more than that for print on a home computer, especially at this size. My printer is a Canon MX922, and once all these are scanned, I'm going to put them in the iCloud drive, because then they'll just automatically sync up to my home computer. This is such a repetitive process. And I usually scan, like, even if I'm considering it, like if I'm not sold on putting it into Collage Club just yet, I'll still scan it because it's easier for me to have this all done at once than to change my mind later and come and do it again. I have to be careful sometimes if it's too far in the book, the scanner bed won't actually press it down. So sometimes I'll actually leave this lid open and I will use my hand to push near the spine of the book to really make sure the whole thing gets flat. Especially for those big chunky journals. You just want to make sure you're applying some pressure right near that gutter. And hopefully if you've got somewhat of a lay flat book, it should get down there pretty well. And I've already got dusty powder residue from those paintings, so I should probably try and clean it after this. That face paint transfers so dusty, so I don't think I should keep using that if I want to scan anything. But at the time, I don't really know if I want to scan it or not. Like I don't usually go through my day considering everything I do, whether it would be good for Collage Club. It's usually after it's finished I think, oh yeah, I'll put that in there. These ones are harder to scan, the hardcover ones, or if the journal's really big, sometimes I have to scan it in multiple parts and do photo merge on Photoshop, which is actually a really useful tool. I'm gonna scan this. I actually don't know if I want this side bit. Alright, that's everything done for now. Okay, so here's my computer, and I'm going to the cloud drive because I want to upload, I want the cloud to download all the scans that I just had, so it'll take it a second to pop up. This computer's also kind of old, it's about 5 years old now, so everything works just a little slower than I would like it to, but that's okay, I'll upgrade one day. And then I've got Photoshop here. I'm actually just going to start a new file, and we can start building our first collage page. I have one from last month that I was going to make available this month because I had an extra one and I thought I would want to do that, but now I'm questioning whether I want to do that. I'm going to see how it fits in at the end. These are just some stamp sets I'm working on. This Rainbow Wheel of Death. So I'm going to make a new page, just US letter sized. I'm just going to close all this stuff that I don't need. While the iCloud drive is trying to catch up with itself, I'm going to go to my Collage Club folder. I actually need to pick out one of the files that has the little copyright information at the bottom. So I usually just open up one of the Photoshop files and just steal it from the bottom of that. So this has all the layers in it as a working file, and I actually just want to steal this little layer down here, this text layer. I'm going to drag it over to my new US letter size paper, and then I can start building my collage sheet. Alright, it's all here. Let me start with something pretty big and fun to look at. So I'm going to drag her on. Just going to rotate that so it's facing upright. And up here, I'm going to change it to 100%. I at least want to edit it at 100% sometimes, especially if it's got lots of detail in it, so that I'm not losing any of the quality of the image. Now, I don't need all this background, so I'm going to lasso tool this, and I'm just going to copy and paste a version of it for myself. Delete that layer, so that I'm just dealing with the image. Everyone's a little different with how they decide to color correct. I usually go first to the image, the brightness and contrast, and I actually lower the brightness so that I can get some of that detail in where, because my scanner kind of blows out the highlights a little bit, so I usually lower the brightness a touch and then increase the contrast a little bit. Then I go to the levels and pump the white so that I can get rid of the background. If I go too far, it's actually going to blow out all the highlights, so I don't usually like to take it so far that that happens. I can also adjust the midtones of the image with that gray slider in the middle. Usually I'll lighten the midtone area and then bring back the shadows. So that just kind of punches out the image a lot more, and it also gets rid of a lot of the white in the background. Anything that I feel like needs to be cleaned up, or if I want to do anything specific to the image, I'll go and tweak that afterwards, but this is a very general way to kind of correct the image from the scan, because the scanner bed, it does a good job, but it's not perfect. The main thing I want to focus on is not blowing out the highlights, especially with these muted tones. I usually go to the saturation and increase the saturation a bit. And then if any of the colors have kind of skewed within the scanning, because that happens a lot sometimes, the light doesn't pick up the true color that I've used, it just translates it to the closest digital color that's available. So sometimes you can lose a lot, and I notice a lot of the time my skins are a lot more red than I would like them, so I either desaturate the red channel, or slightly move it over to something a bit more yellow. And on the master channel, I'll usually just pump up the whole thing just to make it a bit brighter. This is also going to be handled by your printer when it reprints it back out, so messing with the colors too much isn't that necessary because everyone's printer is going to be different, but you try to make it look as nice as you can on the file, and then hopefully you've got the best shot at printing it out the way it was illustrated. So there's that for me. Some people do this, I don't typically do this, but if you want to burn and dodge, like it might be nice just to darken up the eye area a little bit if something gets a little lost, or you want to just punch something out. I will typically dodge if I've still got any of that kind of outside yellow of the paper, because a lot of the times the paper will scan in kind of yellow, especially when you do all the color correcting. So sometimes I'll just dodge the outside to make it a pure white, and that way it looks like there's no paper background to all of my pieces, that they're just images on a white background. This one I did overpaint the lines though, so I can't clean it up too much because that's how it was painted, but anywhere I see little bits of paper, I'll go and dodge that out. It's just essentially like a little cleanup around the edges. And this can be quite time consuming depending on the piece. Like on the craft paper, it's actually kind of harder to remove it because that edge isn't white, it's brown. So you have to get a really clean edge to your illustration. This one's really forgiving because we already color balanced a lot of it out. And then, just like you would on a professional photo, sometimes you retouch. If I've scanned cat hair in accidentally, I'll retouch it. Or even if I didn't see it on the scanner bed, even after I cleaned it, there might be these little smudges that I just don't want. even actual mistakes that I made, I can clean them up on here. I try not to though, because there's a lot of charm to the original sketches, but I have cleaned them up in the past if something's distracting when I look at it. But I would say overall, she looks done. I'm going to change the layer. Instead of putting normal, I'm going to press darken, and that just means like as I'm fixing this and moving it around, say I bring out another one, I can actually see how close they're going to be to each other. If it was just a normal layer, then you would have all of that edge that I cut out. So I usually change the blend mode to darken so that I can lay them without worrying about it. And I'm gonna have to resize. I'm gonna keep a copy of that layer though with the original size just in case. But I don't need her that big. So now she gets resized to fit onto the page. So she's gonna go there for now, but she could change position like 6 more times. Even size, I might wanna shrink it down a little bit. But I do think I want her to be about a quarter of the page. So where's my snapping guide? There. Yeah, I kind of want her a little bigger. And I leave a little white border around the edge because I'm going to make a cut file for this. But I'll do that later when all the images are placed in. So I'm going to speed through the rest. I'm not quite sure if this is going to take on a theme or not, this page, but for now I'm just going to color correct everything and put it on and see what happens.
Will I wake up in your bed and regret everything I did? Like a hangover, but leave me needing one more fix. She said, shut your mouth and kiss me. Hey, don't waste your breath, cause you know what I'm feeling.
So I have been working on that. My fingers are kind of sore from using the trackpad, so I'm going to take a break from that. I usually do this. I work on it for as long as I can be bothered, and then I just move on. But I'll come back to it, obviously, keep tinkering away. I'm just going to move a few more things in. I noticed that there was a theme to one page developing, all the little Disney villains. I probably could have guessed that, but not until I started putting them in. I was like, I guess that could be a full page. So I've moved a couple of the pieces into another file to start a new page. I have 5, so once I start, starting the next one, you really start to see how they come together. I'm gonna try and fill up the rest of the villains page before I move on though, and that would be almost one complete. I'm having a few issues erasing around the craft illustrations. I might actually have to do that on my iPad in Procreate, and that's rare. I don't usually do that anymore, but just for those ones, I think I'll have to tidy that up. I don't know if I'll be able to fit everything onto this page, so I might sacrifice a few pieces, or I might just put a few that don't fit onto this page on another page if I decide to keep them. But for now, I think I can make a full Disney Villains illustration page, so that would, yeah, that's going to be fun. I'm having my Virtual Voyage 5 in October, which is Disney Villains themed. So this will be a nice kind of early head start on getting some of those pieces into people's journals, getting people excited about it, and getting a head start on Christmas. Also, I'm about to go and get a Disney annual pass. Well, I'm planning to. Who knows, by the time you see this, I may or may not have it. But if I get it, then obviously I've got some things to use there for my journaling. So I'm yeah, happy with how that's coming together. I'm just gonna finish that up, and then I'm gonna take a break for now and work on something completely different. I bounce in and out of Collage Club. I didn't realize when I started this video, I think I said it was mid-August. It's not, it's the 23rd. So I have about 8 days to pull it all together. It's more than enough time. You can see one whole page is almost finished, so I think it'll be fine. I'm just gonna go do other projects, film other videos. I have other things I have to do, and yeah, whenever I get in the mood, that's when I usually jump into Collage Club again, which could be whenever. Could be at midnight, could be at 2 o'clock in the morning. But yeah, I work kind of mood based, so if I feel like I want to start drawing, I go do that. If I feel like I want to go to lunch, I go do that. Very lucky. It's not a normal job, but yeah, anyway, let's finish that up and move on. Okay, so I have these little stars in my planner, and I use these to denote whenever I go to Zumba classes. So I've been lots in August, which is really nice. Actually, I have a few more to add to these, but I want to create some green stars so that I can use them from Collage Club for next month. I don't know if I'm not going to keep them plain. I'm going to try and make them kind of fun patterns or fun little designs, but they're all just going to be green stars. And I think, because I only ever go Monday to Friday, and I don't know if I'd need more than 20 stars. I mean, if I do, that's an amazing problem to have, going to 20 Zumba lessons a month. But that's what I'm going to be working on. So I'm actually just going to keep the camera rolling and just show you some of the footage of making these little stars. I know it's a very little thing, but Collage Club is a way for me to kind of make sure that I have all the little bits and pieces I want to play with in my journal, and this is something super specific, but I do include that stuff, especially if I feel like I can put a little creative spin on the little stars. I think it might be fun. Anyway, I will probably draw them a little bit bigger than I need them, resize them on the computer. Let's get to that. I just need to grab some green supplies and paper. Hello, it's VoiceOver James. I wanted to chat to you about a few fun facts. I'm going to fill in all this negative space. I don't want to have just music playing for 3 minutes, because I feel like when I watch videos, that's when I kind of tune out and turn the video. Just me. Anyway, I wanted to chat to you about some of the fun facts for this month's Collage Club, more so the fact that I filmed the whole thing. It only occurred to me after I've edited down 17 hours of clips. That's not even the entire process. Remember, most of this stuff I'd actually drawn beforehand. So you can hopefully appreciate just how many hours collectively like the time I had spent drawing all that stuff beforehand and all those different journals that it came from, and then all the stuff that I recorded. Like, this can take a ton of time. I think in one of the clips I do break down kind of my advice if people are thinking of doing their own digital download subscription thing. And it really is all dependent on how fast you work and how much of a back catalog you have to access and what you're really offering. I mean, when I first started, I thought 5 sheets was like plenty, and I thought it was totally enough, but I know there are people that do tons more than that. And, you know, we all kind of offer different things, and some people do like more digital illustration, some people do more traditional illustration, and everything takes us like a different amount of time. Even if you're working in the same mediums, some people just work quicker and some people just, you know, do more. So I don't know, it has become really subjective. So hopefully my opinion, like everything else, you just take with a grain of salt. But this is why I kind of prioritize this with at least a week. Like, I wouldn't be leaving this later than a week before it was due, because 17 hours of just clips from putting it all together with only a few things that I drew from scratch for this, that can, you know, obviously really inflate if what you're doing every month is completely new work, and all, especially if you were like theming stuff. That's why even when I do themed things, it's usually only 1 page, not all 5 pages, because to build a collection that big, I mean, when you think of it, there are designers out there that actually work for companies that would spend like weeks alone just working on a few illustrations. So this can be a lot. Again, don't know who I'm talking to here, because I don't assume most of you watching are wanting to start your own collage club, but just in case you are, these are the things that kind of fill my mind. And one of them is time management. It's just, how much time do I have to be able to commit to new work? How much old work do I want to pull in? If I see themes emerging, do I want to make something new for that and add to it? Or do I just go searching through the archives and kind of flesh it out that way? That is much of the process. As far as the artwork that goes into it, the rest, the time at the computer, I wish I could be quicker at it. There are a few shortcuts I have taken and learned about in the past, but that in itself is like, that is a beast. All the computer work, I'm sure you're finding there's a lot. Okay, so I'm doing a bit of a test right now, and I thought I'd just turn the camera on just to kind of see the experimentation process. No idea how it's going to turn out. I'm going to send some of these photos over to the computer and just see what it looks like in a file, but I'm going to try and make 3-dimensional looking letters. I don't want to build them per se, like I don't want to grab, you know, a pen and put like 1. I mean, I think it'd be a cute idea, but I think they're going to be too big to do that. Also, I kind of wanted it to be more looking like paint, like if you just kind of squeezed paint out onto the page, but and it retained that like 3D structure. So this is actually watercolor. It's this water brush, and I use this extra water brush to kind of dome the liquid. I'm gonna actually grab some paint. I'll be back in a second. I want to try it with a squeezy paint bottle as well, just to see how different it looks. But essentially I'm just going to be testing like random application methods, and I'm gonna take photos of them. I'm gonna try and take them in the sunlight, and then I'm gonna take them under this ring light. The ring light actually highlights more of it, so I think I might end up using the ring light rather than the sunlight. But like this, I'm gonna try and make a 5 with this, and then just see what that looks like. I was also thinking maybe I should use a non-porous. It's fun. A non-porous surface, because then I could kind of reuse the stuff as it goes. Oh, that looks like it'll be good. And all I'm going to do is take photos of it. I can't actually put it in the scanner because it will squish everything. And even if I let that dry, it's still going to seep into the page. So I'm going to take my iPhone, that's all I'll need for this, set it to square mode on the photo, then just get the angle right, and take a photo. There we go. I'm going to do one in the sun as well. Move it over here. Just because the look is different and it casts its own shadow with the sun. I still don't know which one I like yet. I'll do it with the 2 as well. Yeah, it doesn't look as great with that water, but this is pretty good. This is also really thick. So from there, I'm going to go to VSCO, which is like an editing app. And now I'm going to edit it and then send it over to the computer and do my little testing. So that's where I'm at with this. I'll do a few more, I'll put it into speed, and hopefully you can just see how I'm experimenting today. A few more fun facts from VoiceOver Me. I am usually scanning at 300 dpi, especially for print. I really don't feel the need to scan any bigger than that, unless I'm going to zoom into something hardcore, like maybe then I'll scan at 600 dpi. Even then, 300 is totally enough to zoom in and enlarge some of your work. So that is usually the resolution I scan at. I scan PNGs. I used to scan TIFFs. They're so big, I don't think you need that much information. JPEGs, I guess, is kind of the same anyway, but for me, PNGs, send them to the cloud. Then I go to this desktop, which I am usually parked at doing, ironically, like right now, this video. I'm always at this desktop. It's in a nice little sunny corner of the house, so hopefully I'm getting my vitamin D as I'm going along. Here is my little test. I wanted to make sure that it still looked kind of three-dimensional, and, you know, I wanted to imagine that if I peeled that sticker off, because I make my collage sheet stickers, if I wanted to peel it off and then put it on the page, it would still look like it was that, you know, 3-dimension kind of paint number. And I really liked it, so I kept going with those, and you'll see, I think almost every single number I created, I, at the start, thought I would do 5. Oh, hang on, I'll get to that in a second. This sheet I actually started last month. This was going to be in August's Collage Club, but I already had enough, and so I had already made the sheet. I swapped it out for something else, and I thought, well, I'll use it this month. And then I got to this month, and I actually thought I was going to swap it out again, because I thought, no, I could use it a different month. But then I ended up using it, because I thought it was kind of a nice balance. I like to have a lot of characters within the sheets, like a lot of faces to use. Everyone used the collage sheets for different things. When I go and check the hashtag, so many people do so many wonderful things with them. So, oh, look at that mess. I thought the whole paint tube was dry. Apparently it was just plugged at the top with a bit of dry paint. That's from Australia. That's from years ago. I bought that when I first started art journaling in 2015 because I needed a matte acrylic to do some faces. Anyway, that's how old that is. The top kind of froze over, dried over, and then I was squeezing it really hard. The whole thing exploded sideways. It was all over my shirt. I had to go wash it immediately. You don't tell because there's a jump cut, but anyway. That was some dried up dilutions I cut up with a palette knife to make one of the numbers. I think I transformed that number into something else as well. Oh my goodness, I'm all over the place. So anyway, I made all these numbers, really loved them. I think the test worked really well, so I just went for it. I was going to do 5 of each, like 5 of each number, because my brain at the start said do 1 page of numbers, because I usually do like it's the days of the week or months of the year, or I do 1 through 31, like days of the month. And this time I just thought, no, I'm just want to do a numbers page, like 1 through 10, air quotes, 0. You know, all of those numbers, and I just wanted to make a whole page of them with this really great 3D paint effect, which I don't think I mentioned, but I was totally inspired by Italian Vogue. If you've never seen an Italian Vogue before, they do a lot of overlay, kind of crafty, like they'll twist yarn to make a word, and then they'll take a photo of it, and so it looks like that yarn has just been unfurled on the photo, but it's just a digital overlay. So this is the same thing I wanted to do with all these numbers, and I thought it'd be so great with all this mixed media just to do it with that. So I grabbed a whole bunch of paint that I wasn't really bothered if I used up too much of it. Some of it was really old. You could tell that Dilutions was literally dried in the jar, and so I went to town. The only downside to all of this is, yes, there was a ton of paint left over, so I actually tried to use it up in these journals and kind of start pieces. Actually, some of the pieces I started, I ended up putting in Collage Club, so, waste not, want not. There's a method to all the madness, but it was a bit of a task to try and get a lot of it used. So I took a very painterly approach and just grabbed all the nearest journals and just kind of went to town with it. So this is a beautiful little, flower kind of headpiece on a little whimsical girl. I haven't finished it. I just let that paint dry. It was very thick, very impasto-like, so I had to let it dry for a long time. And then I'll come back to that another time. Some of them I actually finished. The one here that I'm about to show you, I did finish, and she is in Collage Club. I didn't get the part where I actually drew all over her and brought her to life with all the details. And sometimes I regret that, but I think it's also good to note that, I do have to kind of switch out of gear. This is so ironic as I'm literally making the video. I have to remember that it's not all about the work of it all. Even though this is going to be in Collage Club, at that point I actually didn't know that was going to be in Collage Club. That was just a bit of personal time that I sat down at my desk and thought, I just need 15 minutes just to de-stress a little bit. I just want to draw. I just want to play. I don't want to start anything new. So I just kind of made a face over the top of the thing, and that 15 minutes of personal playtime and enjoyment actually produced something that I liked. So that's how it ends up in Collage Club. And then sometimes I regret not filming it, but I have to remind myself, it's not always about filming everything. Not everything has to be for the video, for the job, for the work, for the money. And that's how I kind of protect the joy that I still have for a lot of art and journaling. I know I mentioned that in last week's video, but it just bears repeating a lot, because if you don't find that balance, if you don't remind yourself to give yourself that break, it can become really overwhelming. So this is an Alice that I decided to do, kind of inspired by the Mary Blair Alices that were already in my journal, just using up all that excess paint. I'm super excited to actually go back and work over the top of that one. This one is a Virtual Voyage 4 journal that I haven't finished, and a double page spread that I hadn't finished, so I went nuts with random colors. There's no rhyme or reason to it. I just did whatever was left over on that page. I'll probably come back to this and add some more, but I kind of love how just random it is. It was fun. It was fun to do. It's not the best look, but it was certainly fun. And that's also an important part of the process, I think. So using up the rest of this paint, I got really experimental with these numbers. I thought I was going to do 5 of each. I ended up doing 10 of each. That's 100 numbers. Some of them I had to do doubles of because I just didn't like the first one I did. And I switched up the approach all the time. Some I would do with the paint only, and then others I'd use the palette knife. Some I'd add water or extra paint to it, or different types of paint together. It was really fun and experimental. If you ever want to give it a go, it wouldn't work in your journal because it kind of needs that 3-dimensional look, but thankfully that's why we have Collage Club, right? Now there's a whole sheet of them available. Okay, really quick recap, because I'm sure I was chatting to you in a voiceover throughout all that footage. I've done all the painted numbers. I still have to do all the computer work for that. I have only a few more things to color in, like the Disney villain stuff, and then I have a few little bits and pieces I still want to add, so I'm going to grab that, but I don't think I'm creating anything new at this point. So as far as fully finished pieces from start to finish, I think the stars are probably the only things you'll get to see in this. Obviously you saw all the numbers, but some months is like that. Some months I will specifically set myself a task, like when we did the page breaks with all those little illustrations. They were fully illustrated from start to finish for Collage Club, but I've caught myself filming in a month where most of the content is already ready. And just if I don't touch on this, I at least want to mention it once. This is kind of how I roll every month. There is at least a good portion of it that comes from work that already exists within my kind of back catalogue of journaling, and that is how it is manageable for me to move through Collage Club and make sure that it's just like this revolving kind of event that can happen each month. I really wanted to make sure that, you know, because when you're thinking of 5 sheets times 12 months, that's 60 sheets, if my math is correct, 60 US letter sheets of paper full of content and art throughout the year. It may not seem like much when you say 5 per month, but when you think about taking on a year's worth of a task, that can be a lot for some people. And I'm lucky in the sense that I do this every day anyway, so there's so much content that I'm still creating, and then there's so much to pull from before. So I really try to strike up a nice balance of specifically things I've done within the month. Like if I do live streams, I like to put some of that stuff in there. If I want to share the Art Snacks challenge stuff that I do for them, if I like the artwork and I want to share that, I'll share that as well. If I'm working on Virtual Voyage and there are very specific workshop things that I like to share, even just my experiments, like I'm sharing this month, my experiments for Virtual Voyage 5 coming in October, that's what I want to share as well. So it's not like I have any hard and fast rules about how much needs to be quote unquote new or never seen before. I just go with, yeah, whatever's current, or then I go into the archive and choose my favorites. Or sometimes I will specifically set out to illustrate something new based on my own personal desire for something, like when I did those page breaks, when the Cruella movie was coming out and I wanted to do those fashion Cruellas, when I did the green stars this month, that was something very specific. So I like to strike a nice blend, and I would encourage anyone who embarks on this kind of digital download content journey to do the same thing, because it could be quite a task to actually do 5 full sheets of drawings every month, depending on how involved the drawings are. But some of my pieces can run the gamut from being like super simple to super involved. So yeah, I don't really have a good gauge on it for myself, but if you were someone that spent a lot of time on one illustration, it would just be unfeasible to do that amount. But everyone's different, so I don't know. To each their own. It would be my recommendation, if all the stars aligned and we are somehow alike and you were trying to do the same thing that I was doing, just pull from everywhere that you have access to, because it's all your work, and I think it's fun to kind of bounce it all back and forth. But things like holidays as well, I think that's something specific. Like I have ideas already for what I want to do for Christmas, but that's far away, so let's not think about that. Anyway, I gotta get onto some of the computer work, because that's ironically what takes the longest time. So I'm gonna get back to that, and I'm sure I'll just be chatting to you through voiceovers if I don't check in again with my face, because I am looking rough and ready these days. I need to go and shave. That's not your problem. See you next time, bye. So here is the aftermath of all of that painting. I just got really carried away playing with all that extra paint. I actually don't know what I'm going to do with it, but it's all there if I need it. These are my little pieces that I started, and I was working on my Virtual Voyage 4 journal, just trying to finish up some of those pictures. And I started this Alice painting, which I'm probably the most excited to work on this at a later date. Hello, good morning. So this is the next part. See how thrown together this all is? Today I got up to get my Disneyland Magic Key, which I think is the new term for annual pass, but I've been on a waiting list for I got up at, well, it was ready at 10. It took about 20 minutes to even get anywhere, and then it's now 10:43 and I've got a status bar that says I've got over an hour to wait. So I'm gonna wait here because I just don't want to miss anything, but I can do all my editing while I do it, literally all of that to say that. So I'm gonna do a bunch of my computer editing for College Club sheets whilst I wait for this to load. And this is not atypical, is that the word? This is normal. I usually, like, I never really plan out, oh, I have to, unless I'm really, really late with Collage Club, but I never plan out like, oh, I've got to sit at the computer for 4 hours and edit today. It is usually in bursts like this. Like if I'm doing the Etsy orders, I do a bunch there. If I do, like if I'm waiting for something, I'll do some there. And so, yeah, it's kind of hard to gauge how long all of this actually takes, but I'm going to be on here until I get sick of it or until this annual pass screen opens up again. So I'll just play in speed everything I kind of get up to on the computer. Okay, hello, good morning. Today is Thursday, and yesterday I did more of the computer part of Collage Club. I was also trying to order my magic key, my annual pass for Disneyland. It was quite an adventure. I had some payment processing issues where the website kept crashing, so I may or may not have been charged like 5 times for that key. I'll figure it out another day, but I'm very excited because I already have a reservation for today, which means I get to do something I haven't done in a long time, and I get to work in the park, which is really, really nice. I just love to switch it up and change the scenery. Don't get me wrong, very grateful for this like studio space and my desk and all my things, but it does get a little small inside these 4 walls, so I do like to go out and about. And obviously it's been a challenge for a while, but I have my Sky Bambi companion. She is all ready to go, my little Luca bag. I've got everything I need in there to have a good time. I have my little B6 Slim Midori journal that I usually do stream of consciousness in, but I decided that actually it's just gonna go with that bag wherever that bag goes, because then it can just be an anything journal, like most of them are. Anything I do end up doing in there, I guess I could turn into stream of consciousness pages if I wanted to, so I think it all still checks out. But I'll be sketching anything I want to sketch in there. Most likely something for Collage Club. That's why I'm making this little clip. I think I'm gonna go park myself at Jolly Holiday Cafe. Anyway, I'll show you some little clips as we go. Steve's gonna drop me off. It's gonna be amazing. I'll only be in there for a few hours, basically having breakfast, maybe lunch in there, but I'm so excited. Let's go to Disneyland!
Talk to me nice, talk to me honestly. Look in my eyes, don't let it fall on me. Say you're a good guy, make me believe it. Don't wanna hear it, I wanna see it. See how rewind, when we rewind, it feels so nice. We time, you I know how to make me feel right. I can't help how this sweet talk. I'm already on my way. I'm pulling up, don't be late. I'm cutting through all the lanes. Sweet talk. You need to say let's convey. No need for no flowers, babe. I'm already on my way, on my way. Why you blushing? Yeah, sweet concussion. Oh, you miss my touching. Good do. Show me something. Give me more than one thing. I need more than less than I do. Say you're a good guy. Make me believe it. Don't wanna hear it. I wanna see it. See how rewind, when we rewind, it feels so nice. I can't help how this sweet talk. I'm already on my way. I'm pulling up, don't be late. I'm cutting through all the lanes. Sweet talk.
Okay, voiceover James here, and I thought I'd share with you a little bit of a thought. While we're doing this coloring in, I'm using my Copic markers for a really beautiful, soft, kind of blended and flat look. Coloring in my Minnie Mouse girl there so I could put her with my magic key, and I wanted to do the villains that I was doing as well in the craft book. I could have left them blank, but I did want to color them in. I thought it would be more fun to use them colored in. I don't have a problem with leaving some things in black and white or leaving them as sketches on Collage Club. I actually really like the variety, and from a lot of the people that I see that use the hashtag on Instagram, people's styles are very different. Some people are very kind of minimalist and use 1 or 2 elements. Some people have very monochrome palettes and they use only things that will match, and so the black and whites can be really useful for those kinds of spreads. And then some people are just, you know, full out with lashes, all color, all crazy, all day long, and so obviously there's enough there's enough variety in there for those people as well. But as far as actually kind of working towards I was going to say expectations, but people's suggestions, because I do sometimes get suggestions. I'd never want people to think that I don't care about that. I've always just made a rule with myself, kind of like a pact with myself for my own happiness and joy, and making sure that I'm always bringing people like the best parts of what I enjoy. That if I did like it, like if it resonated with me for some reason, if someone said, hey, can you do penguins? And I really actually just wanted to do some penguins, literally has never happened, but just in case, you know, for this not metaphor, but kind of example, I would actually do the penguins and then I would be happy that I did them. But I don't really ever take suggestions. Not that you're not free to make them, but I'd never promise that that's what I'm going to work towards. I know some other creators like to open the floor. To me, I'm just terrible at collaborating because I like to do my own thing. Like that brings me the most joy, and I'm rarely ever stuck for an idea or something that I want to do. So to me, I could fill all the pages I want to fill every month, and so that's just kind of what I do to make sure that what I'm bringing and what I'm putting out there is all stuff that I love, that comes from me in some kind of personal way, and to avoid any of those kind of, you know, difficult feelings that arise when you're working with this kind of one-sided collaboration. Because it's odd if someone says like, hey, can you draw this penguin, and I think, oh, I don't really want to draw penguins, and then I go and do it. First of all, I've not really enjoyed it, but I might not have done the penguin the way they expected. Like maybe they saw this Rolly Crump-esque style that I've been experimenting with and pictured some penguins in that style. And then I go and give them some like mixed media penguins that are all abstract and don't even look like penguins. And, you know, so then you're kind of working towards nothing at the end of the day. If you can't really satisfy that request and it's not really satisfying you, it's not to say it won't work. Absolutely it can work, but I think there's a greater setup for disappointment that way. So that's why I just kind of say, you know, I'm going to put all the stuff I love in there. There's 5 sheets, so there's certainly enough variety to find at least a few things that will work for the month. But just a thought I thought I'd share with you. Alrighty, I'm just checking back in quickly. I have to go on Procreate and erase any of the things that were too difficult to erase on the computer. It's much easier just to throw it into Procreate and use the Apple Pencil to erase the edges. So that'll be quick and fine. I don't love to do that, but it's so much easier than doing it on the computer. So I'm going to do that right now. I also have a few gaps on some of the pages. I have put everything I wanted to get into Collage Club in there, and then other things just kind of fell in there as they saw them, and I thought that would be great to add as well. So this is the point where I'll actually just go through stuff that I've done, go through my journals, and find just other random little bits and pieces that might kind of flesh it out or be fun to add, or I might want to use next month in sticker form in my journal or something. So yeah, at this point, we're pretty much coming together. Everything is kind of coming together. It's the 29th right now. Okay, so I've got 2 more days technically to put it all together. I think that'll be fine. Honestly, I'm going to erase this stuff now, probably scan a few extra things to pop into those sheets, and I think I'll be getting around to making all the cut files tonight as well. So hopefully I can do all of that, and that means the only thing I'll have left is to upload like all of the random back-end uploading this month, making all the infographics for it. I'll show you some clips of that as well. I know this video is already so long, but I hope you're having a good time seeing just how many different bits and pieces there are to the process that happens every month. Every month it just happens again. So yeah, I'll show you that. Let's get on Procreate and start erasing those edges. Fingers crossed it doesn't take too long. Okay, all my Procreate stuff is done. Now I've put everything back into the computer and I'm making cut lines. I make the cut lines for anyone who has cutting software that can't use the silhouette files that I add, because I do add just the straight up print and cut silhouette files that I make for myself. But just in case someone uses a Cricut or a Brother Scan and Cut, I'm not really too familiar with all the other versions and how they work, but some people do just use these cut files. So I make those. I actually made a Photoshop action to make my cut files. It is so involved, I can't really even explain it, nor do I think anyone cares about hearing about it. But I did manage to streamline that process, and that is something that I take a lot of pride in. It is hard for me to streamline computer processes, but every now and then I come across something I can change, and it really, really does help. Hello, I'm just going to give you a quick update as to what's going on because we're almost at the end of the whole process. I have done all of the cut files in Photoshop. I make a little PNG cut file just for people who use other applications that don't have, that can't use the silhouette files that I upload. Now I have to do all the silhouette files because that's for me, that's how I print them out. Once I do that, I'm going to print them, put them through the cutting machine. I'll show you some footage of that. And then I have to do all the kind of uploading to Teachable, removing or getting ready to remove all the other sheets from, I don't know what month it is this time, but it's 4 months that stay up there. So it'll be September, August, July, June, May. I think May is moving over to Etsy. So I have to do that, make all of the kind of infographics for it. I also have to make something for Instagram just to post that it's up and available. And then I also have to film a video to kind of go through all of the choices. I was kind of tossing up whether I should film a video this month since this whole video is kind of this month, but I still will, just in case anyone wants to look at the pages on their own and not go through this feature-length film of a process video. But this is where I'm at, and it's just been a lot of computers. It's just going to be all computers until the end now. It is always quite interesting when you think about the fact that like the creating part of it, like the illustrating, the painting, can be like the least amount of time you spend doing this stuff. It's all computers, all formatting, all files. It can be quite tedious. So that's why I do it in all these bursts, and it is so much more manageable for me to do it over the period of like a week or 2 weeks and just jumping in whenever I feel like it, because I actually do kind of feel like sitting at the computer and fussing about today. So this is where I'm at. I'm going to do all the silhouette files, then we'll see them all getting printed and cut, and I might just take a break after that. I'll do all the other formatting and uploading later. I print my pictures on the matte photo sticker paper from onlinelabels.com. I also managed to print them on a really high setting. It's hard because the silhouette has its own kind of print setup, but matte photo sticker paper, I print it like photo quality, very, very high. So nice rich colors and nice and clear. Then I put them through the cutting machine, cut all the pages, and I am good to go. Now I have 9 of my collage sheets from this month with the extra bonus 4. I have them all kiss cut and ready to go. Basically US letter size sticker sheets. Super easy to use in my journaling. Hello, good morning. It is the 31st of August, which means everything has to be uploaded. I'm just going to be at the computer all day again. Not all day. I'll actually go and film my video today, I think. But I'm going to be doing all the computer like admin side work and also photoshopping together the kind of listing photos or infographics, something for Instagram as well. So I'm going to be strapped to this beast for a little bit. I'll time lapse through some of this as well. But this is kind of like the last step. So we are almost there. But it's the 31st today, so it really has to all be done today because it's released tomorrow on the 1st. Congratulations for making it this far in the video. We're at the final stretch. This is obviously just more computers, shock horror. I'm putting together the infographics that I need to upload on Teachable just to let everyone know what's coming in this month. I use that kind of all the months at a glance, that back catalog, as a way to show people what's available within Collage Club since I do a 4-month rotation. There it is there. And I make sure that every month has its own little infographic just for quick reference to know exactly what you're downloading. You can even see it inside there. I use Teachable because I already use that for my online workshops. There are other platforms you could use. Most everything takes a percentage, so for me it didn't make sense to start another platform to take a different percentage, and Teachable is actually a platform that I really enjoy using. So, and fun fact, they just uploaded PayPal as a subscription payment method. They didn't used to have that, but now they do, so that's fantastic. These are the infographics that I'm actually making for Etsy. Like I said, we rotate out every 4 months, so May is now rotating away from Collage Club and over to Etsy. I always encourage people to join the Collage Club subscription because it is a lot more affordable. I put these on as digital downloads on my Etsy store because that's how they used to be available. And I see Collage Club as like my offering for people who just want something a little bit more affordable. It is one of my most affordable content offerings, and so I try to make that the most accessible. Yeah, so anyway, Collage Club, that is pretty much it. We have the Etsy listing ready to upload tomorrow, which I'm just going to press go whenever, usually I actually wait until midnight and I will make the printables available and then also make the Etsy listing. I'll get rid of May, etc, etc. September will become available. Here I'm making another kind of infographic. This actually is for Instagram. This is an Instagram post. It may look a little odd because it's super long, but this is how I make Instagram posts that when you swipe, they're seamless. I actually just make a square and then times that square by however many slides I want. So I think I had 7 slides for this one, and that way I get to show you a big preview and then you can swipe through and see all the sheets side by side. It is a lot of work, it's kind of extra, but I do like having that. It's just another way for me to market Collage Club. Anyway, I'm going to join you for an outro in real life. Hang with me for a second. We made it. I am gonna wrap this up hopefully within the next 5 minutes so we can keep this video just under an hour or bang on an hour. I just wanted to say thank you for making it this far in Collage Club. September 2021 should be available. More information will be linked at Collage Club in the description box below if you need to know anything else, or even just look at the back catalogue of sheets that we have in Collage Club and the sheets that have rotated out to Etsy. Remember, we always do 4 months. So 4 months are in there, and then whatever is not in there is on Etsy. I am just going to use these last few minutes just to kind of tell you how this all came about, because I realized that wasn't a story I really touched on. I used to sell collage sheets on Etsy. One of the first things I ever sold on Etsy was digital downloads, or digi-stamps, which really takes me back. But I wanted to keep selling my digital collage sheets, but there was no kind of continuity to them in the sense that like they were all made at different times for different reasons, and I felt like it was a little haphazard. So I wanted to, like I did with the rest of my products, kind of streamline it all and make it a bit more polished and a bit more purposeful. So later in the year last year and then kind of earlier this year, I decided, you know what? I won't be accountable if there's no reason for me to make them every month, so I have to give myself a reason. So I said, well, like, I'll do a subscription. That way I know that if I have to deliver them to paying customers, I would have to create them. Yes, I can be that lazy sometimes. So I decided to think about the subscription. I had a lot of hard times figuring out how I was going to do it. Eventually I settled on Teachable because I was like, I'm crazy. I literally have that platform. Why wouldn't I use that? So I used Teachable. And then when I came to price it, it was super confusing because like Patreon, there was no way to lock the content to the subscription date. So that's when I came up with the idea of rotating them out after 4 months. Essentially in the start, because I was doing it to create collage sheets to sell on Etsy, it always made sense to me that eventually they would leave Collage Club, but I didn't know if I was going to do it for a full year and then get rid of them, because then I was like, if you join in like November, and you're getting the same amount as the people that joined in January, like that is a massive discrepancy, which happens a lot on Patreon, and I never loved that about that platform. So anyway, I thought, you know what, let's do a rotation. So for the first 4 months, I was very like candid in telling people like the rotation hasn't started yet, so if you want to wait, just wait. But now we have this 4-month rotation, so everything that we have on there is available the last 4 months, like the previous 4 months, the most recent ones, and then everything that's not has gone to Etsy, and I've had success actually selling on Etsy those sheets that have rotated out. So it's become a really wonderful little part of my business that I really enjoy. The other perk was I have had a lot of people over the years ask how they can kind of tip me, which we don't do tips in Australia, but I do live in America now, so no, don't expect it. Honestly, I give this content because I want to be giving it and I enjoy doing it still. Fingers crossed that keeps happening. But I just thought this actually filled a nice need, a nice little part of that where people had said, can I give you some money, or like, how do I say thank you for uploading on YouTube, or like doing a page in 10 series. And so this kind of became like a little place to tip. You could just sign up for a month and it'd be like giving me $5 tip. I don't see it that way, but some people have expressed that that was what they wanted, so thank you for that. I really do appreciate it. Certainly not needed. Please never feel pressured to do that. So that was kind of like a little thing that it just inevitably did, was that. But then also I thought, I don't have anything like that affordable. Like I'll offer a premium product in my Etsy store and a premium product with my workshop experiences. Like I know that they're valued quite high. And so I thought this would be a really nice way to offer, like with my free YouTube content, one of the most accessible products because there was no loss to creating the product. It's one of those things that has kind of zero overhead. You're just making it and it can restock itself, digital products. So this was actually really nice for me to be able to offer a collage club to people who don't have the budget to buy in store from my Etsy store, or who can't afford to do a workshop. This was a really great way for us to share in this art journaling experience that I have, and a really tangible way to get your hands on like JLB creative stuff. Then I did the little licensing thing just for anyone who was looking to use them creatively and to resell as like transformative parts of their work. So it just kind of all fell together that way, and that is how it started. Honestly, accountability so that I would be able to put the sheets on Etsy once they rotated out, and I really did have a desire to share more, especially in a really tangible way. So the accessibility, the affordability just were inevitable at that point. Anyway, fun little fact, thought I'd share it with you. We're at an hour now, so I have to go. Have a wonderful day. I will see you when I see you. Remember to download your sheets for September and tag me if you want me to share some love on your post. I can't wait to see what you do with them. As always, goodbye.